Welcome to Screenplay Basics, a presentation of my indie film workshops. This is Lecture 1, also known as the introduction, of Module 1, The Writer Prepares. My name is Chuck Bush, and I'll be your instructor for this course. As a bit of background, I've worked in film and entertainment since 1983. I started as an actor in the Warner Brothers feature Fandango, but since then I have primarily worked as a producer and a screenwriter. I also have directed and been a post-production supervisor on several feature films. As a screenwriter, I have been blessed to have sold 4 screenplays and optioned 2 more. Plus, I have written a pilot for a TV series called Men 2, and also as a side note, I am a published author. Now let me give credit where credit is due. My screenplays, and indeed this lecture, are the result of my experience employing methods I learned from said field. There are other theories in screenplay writing, which we will cover in a later lecture, but I find this one to be the most durable and time-tested. I highly recommend you purchase Sid Field's books on the subject as well, especially the Screenwriter's Workbook, typically available on Amazon, whether you are a first-time writer or a seasoned professional. Now, before we go any further, I want to encourage you, please, at this time, if you haven't already, download the class notes that I have supplied for you as part of this course. We're going to cover a lot of ground, and it's not all covered in the slides. So please download the notes that I have supplied for you in PDF format for free as part of this course. Now, without further ado, welcome to this lecture, which is the introduction. What is a screenplay? A word from your instructor. The purpose of this workshop is to give you a jump start into the process of screenwriting. It is only basic principles, not every nuance of the craft. There are entire books and college courses dedicated to this topic. But if you practice these principles we're going to go through today and study other writers, you'll perfect your craft. Now that you understand what this course is not meant to be, it is meant to be a boot camp of sorts. I'm going to give you an overview of the step-by-step process that has been successful for me in writing the screenplays that I've sold. And if it works for me and you follow the process I will be discussing in modules 1 and 2, it should work for you as well. So, what is a screenplay? Let's get to the heart of the matter. What is a screenplay? Defined, a screenplay or script is a written work that is made especially for film or television. Screenplays can be original works or adaptations from original pieces of literature. Here, the movement, actions, expressions, and dialogue of the characters are also narrated. So in differentiating here, the screenplay is literature, but it's not like a novel. In a novel, the dramatic action takes place inside of the head of the main character. The storyline unfolds through the eyes of the main character from their point of view. The characters and the readers go through the action together, which usually all takes place in the theater of the mind. A screenplay is not a stage play either. The storyline or action of the play occurs on stage. We learn about the actor's hopes and dreams through exposition, that is, the dialogue and descriptions as explained by the actors on stage right before our eyes. A screenplay dramatizes the storyline. We see pictures in motion, a ticking clock, a window opening, a stranger in the distance foreshadowing something yet to come. A screenplay takes the audience inside of the story. In practical terms, a screenplay is to a motion picture as a blueprint is to a building. It provides the structural details that allow a film to go from an idea to reality. It is the film in word picture form. So a screenplay is told in pictures, in dialogue, and description, and is placed within the context of a dramatic structure. Now we'll talk more about dramatic structure in a later lecture. The great director, screenwriter, and film critic Jean-Luc Godard said it this way: screenplays have a basic linear structure that creates the form of the screenplay because it holds all of the individual elements or pieces of the story in place. So what is a screenplay? Well, it is definitely a piece of literature, yes. But as I've said before, so is the manuscript of a novel. But I can tell you from personal experience that they are very different. So what separates the screenplay from all other literary works? Structure. Structure is what separates a screenplay from other literary arts. Structure is a noun. Number 1, to build or put together. Number 2, it is the relationship between the parts and the whole. So let's talk about that just a second. The parts and the whole. There is certainly a distinction. Think of a game of chess. There are 4 parts to the game. There are pieces, the players, the board, and the rules. Remove one of those 4 parts, and the whole ceases to exist. By that I mean this. Remove the rules, for example, and chess may become checkers. The same is true of the screenplay. If you remove any of its structural parts, it is no longer a script. It's just a piece of literature. Now, a good structure is transparent to the story, like ice cubes in water. See, ice cubes have a very specific crystalline structure. Water has a very definitive molecular structure, but they are both H2O. And as the ice melts into the water, you can't really tell where the ice ends and the water begins. A good screenplay structure is just that seamless. You can't really tell the difference between where the story starts and stops and where the structure starts and stops. They are seamlessly interwoven, immutably connected, and they are transparent. So far, I know this has been a lot of talk and no writing, but it's true when they say that proper preparation prevents poor performance. Even though we're not writing yet, I promise you that every minute of prep time spent will make creating the final product so much easier. You'll thank me. This concludes our introduction. What is a screenplay? Next, we will discuss the story paradigm in terms of structure.